to be talking about the Jobsmart name brand, which is the store brand of Tractor Supply Company. You won't find this particular name brand out here on YouTube that often. There's a few videos out here, but those videos are not relevant. They don't give you the performance results or opinions on anything to do with the Jobsmart name brand. In order for us to make videos of this type of stuff, I went out here and I bought these particular name brands. I am not given these tools. I'm not paid by anybody. Everything you see on this channel is purchased and used by me personally. So you can rest assured when I'm telling you something, it's going to be valid and it's going to be the truth based off of my opinion and what experiences I've had with these tools. Just recently, I found some really good deals on some tools with the Jobsmart name brand, and I decided to invest in those tools. That way I can see for myself what the performance results are, what it's like to use the tools, and what they compare to. Are they going to compare to something like the Cobalt, Stanley, Craftsman, Pittsburgh Pro, Mac, Snap-on, Proto? You never know until you try. I doubt that they hold up to the tool truck name brands, but they have never tried to compare themselves to the tool truck name brands. Of course, when choosing a tool, it's all up to you and what you're doing, so keep that in mind before you ever buy any tool. This particular set right here, model number on the screen, SKU number on the screen, it's a 1/2 inch drive 31 piece socket set, both standard and metric sizes, all 1/2 inch drive, and it is the Jobsmart Pro Series socket set from Tractor Supply. Made in Taiwan, fully polished chrome vanadium steel with a chrome plated finish on the outside. It does have a lifetime satisfaction guaranteed warranty on it. So if for any reason these tools ever fail, take it back to the store and they will exchange it. And it does have the satisfaction guaranteed warranty on it also. It says for any reason you're not completely satisfied with your purchase, please return it to any Tractor Supply store. So definitely keep your receipt on hand, because if you don't like this set, you can return it for a full refund. So that's always a good part. You can test these sockets out, test the ratchets out, see what you think about them, and then take it back to the store if you don't like them. So that's got a really good lifetime warranty on it. Everything in its 1/2 inch drive, you're going to get 7/16 all the way up to 1/1/4 of an inch. It doesn't skip any sizes in between. With metric, you're getting 8 through 17, then you'll get 19, 21, 24, 27, 30, 32. So it does skip 18, 20, 22, and 23. Aside from the other sizes. This particular socket set will run you right around $40. If you go check online, the sales price is $40, but in store they had it on manager special from here to Christmas until they sell out. I picked it up for $28 plus tax, so right at 30 bucks. For a 31 piece socket set, that means I have a little less than $1 a piece invested into each piece in this particular set. I do like the fact that they give you a wide variety of sizes and the larger sizes, but I don't like that they skip the 18, the 20, the 22, and the 23, because nothing interchanges with those particular sizes. I would have much rather them took out the 5/8 because the 16 essentially fits the 5/8. I would have rather them took out the 15/16 because it's the same thing as the 24 millimeter, and the 1 3/16 is the same thing as the 30 millimeter. So right there's 3 of them. If they would have took out those 3 sizes because they have something to interchange with them, then they could have gave us the sizes that we need that don't interchange. So that would have been something that they should have done in my recommendation. Everything here does come in this blow molded plastic case. Nice sturdy plastic case, ain't got nothing wrong with that, no issues with it. It does have the 2 pins on the back so you can divide the case, take the lid off, put it in your drawer if you want to. It's got the carrying handle so you can easily pick it up, grab it on the go. You got a tractor broke down, you got a machine broke down, depending on what you're using this for, pick it up, go. Throw it in the back of your truck, get to traveling. And it's got 2 latches right here. All you gotta do is pop those latches, pop the lid open. And here is your layout. Right off the bat, we have a 3 inch 1/2 inch drive extension. We got our 72 tooth ratchet, and then we have got all our 1/2 inch drive sockets with the standard on the left and the metric on the right. I do not like the layout of this particular set for a few reasons. Number one, I would prefer that their sockets be color coded with this type of layout. Something like you would see with Cobalt, the old Duralast, or the Quinn sets. They have the red stripe right here. It lets you determine what is standard, what is metric. The only thing that you're going to be able to tell the difference on here is by the lines. These have, for the standard, they have the double line design. It's got 2 little lines right here, and the metric's got 1 line. Now, several different manufacturers use this particular style. You got it with Power Torque. You can see it with some of the old school Task Force name brands, Pro Value, and of course Performance Tool has those type of name brands. But the one thing you'll also notice with this entire set, nothing on it has the actual part number for anything. Nothing on it has the Jobsmart name brand. Every one of the sockets have chrome vanadium spelled out, stamped into it, and the size identification. As far as the ratchet and your extension goes, all they have is chrome vanadium stamped into them. So it doesn't have the Jobsmart name brand or a part number. That's another reason why you're going to want to keep your receipt for future warranty information. You might have to prove that these are your actual sockets and they did come from Tractor Supply. Otherwise, you got this. You're going to be able to tell standard from metric by the dual lines or the single line. But the problem is, if you're working on something, you don't have really good lighting all that time. You might be under a shade tree working on something, and you might have to lean over and look, and you're going to have to determine which one's standard, which one's metric. Plus, it does have the size indicators right here, but they're really not that visible. Now, you can fix that by getting a metallic Sharpie or something like that, color them in, and then you'll be able to tell one from the other. But they could have fixed that by color coding this situation, or done something so simple. You can't stand it whenever they're running together right here. The 7/16 starts here, the 8 is here, you got your 13/16 here, and you got your 16mm here. So they're running together. When you're looking to grab a size, you might grab the wrong size, or it's going to slow you down at the very least to be able to grab the size you need for the job. What they should have done, I'm fine with the way the metric is, but they should have reversed this. They should have started the 7/16 over here, ended it right here with the 3/4. They could have flipped the 13/16 with the 1 1/16, and then they could have flipped the 1 1/4 with the 1 1/8. Then when you're looking at your set, you can clearly see that it goes from smallest to biggest in standard, and then the smaller size starts over again, which would be your metric, as opposed to running them all together like this, because with nothing like color-coded designs or anything like that, it makes it a little bit difficult to determine what size you're going to be going for. So I don't like that about it. Or they could have done a different layout with the set altogether. So it is what it is for the price. I can deal with this for the price of 30 bucks. 1/2-inch drive, 3-inch extension here. It does have a nice sturdy ball detent. It does have minimum knurling right here. This isn't really that good. I mean, something's better than nothing. If you need to put a socket on here and you're working somewheres, you know, it will help you grip a little bit. But if you get the least little bit of grease around that, it's going to make it nice and smooth, and it's really not going to help that much. So they could have done something with that, but it does have the ball detent on the inside, the outside. So it will easily lock into your ratchet, lock in place, lock your sockets into place, and do the job it was intended to do. With the 1/2-inch drive ratchet here, this is going to be another potential problem, simply because these type of ratchet designs are similar to the old 1960s and 70s Durochrome ratchets. All right, by that I mean they've got the really big round gear head right here. It's really thick and round, as opposed to like what you're going to get with a gear wrench right here. Gear wrench is nice and small gear head. It's got a nice sturdy quick release button. You actually have to force that down to engage that spring. This one's got the big button, and it's got a really light spring. So whenever you're working on something and you're in a tight space for any number of reasons, and something slides right over top of that, as you can see, it already pushed down and it already almost released the socket. So when you're working, if you barely bump something, it's going to knock your socket right off there, as opposed to having something with a little bit sturdier quick release button. That's one thing I don't like. Plus, because of the big fat gear head right there, and then on the lower side you have got a gap right here in between. So when you go to oil these ratchets, because these come dry, they don't come with any oil in them, you'll have to do that yourself. You're probably going to have to use a thicker grease, because the oil will run right out the edges of it, and then you're going to have a dry ratchet anyway. So I don't like that, because it has too much wiggle room to move back and forth. The quick release button is a little bit too loose for my liking. The reversing switch is recessed. It's nice and smooth. It operates pretty good, but it does stick out over the corner right here. So if I was to bump that, it only takes one time to bump it the wrong way, it could tear that reversing switch completely off. You've got 2 torque screws right here that run through it into the plate. Another issue I will have with that is I can about guarantee you that there is nothing there. It's not going through the actual body. With better quality ratchets, such as the gear wrench right here, you can guarantee that they bored a hole through the body right there for them screws to go through it, so it makes it a little bit stronger. That way, when you put a lot of torque and leverage on this, it's going to move this plate, and in turn it's going to end up moving and potentially damaging those screws right there. and this one's going to be what I call a cheaper ratchet. But you see them on the store shelves all the time. They've got these exact same designs and a wide variety of name brands all over the place. They've got it in Gearhead from Pet Boys, Power Torque, the Pittsburgh Pro name brand, the basic $10, $15 ratchets that they got with no type of name indicators on them are the exact same thing. And these are the ratchets that everybody can't stand because they're pretty well junk. And that's because essentially if they would leave these with the big gear head, the best way to improve it is if they had a single pile design, because the single pile design is a lot thicker and a lot stronger than the dual pile design. If they would have stuck with the dual pile design, I would prefer that it not be a finely toothed ratchet, because it's got the smaller teeth on it and the smaller teeth on the paws, which basically means when you're putting a whole lot of torque and a whole lot of pressure on that, it's going to probably strip the gears or break the paw teeth, one or the other, and then your ratchet's done. You'll end up having to go warranty it out. If it had the single pile design and you moved it back and forth and it had the bigger teeth on it, one or the other, then it would probably be a lot stronger on these type of designs than you would see with other designs. I mean, it's your nice basic ratchet. Will it hold up to do-it-yourself repairs, maintenance, things of that nature? It will probably hold up pretty fine. But now if you put a cheater bar on this, I guarantee it will break. No questions about that. As far as using it the way you're supposed to with your own strength, not putting no cheater bars on them, not putting no cheater pipes on them, and all that good stuff, don't be sticking these on an impact socket, then they might hold up. We'll see. As we have already talked about with the two heads right there, smaller, thicker reversing switch. It's recessed inside there, so you ain't got to worry about bumping it on something on the outside. Works perfectly fine. It's thicker, it's better, it's well made. This one is not, as opposed to this one. The quick release buttons on each one of them, and now I want to show you the insides of each one of them. We'll get our little gear wrench screwdriver set here and take this one apart. We'll take our Torx driver and take this one apart. First things first, you can see the two different plates here. The one on the left is the gear wrench. The one on the right is the Jobsmart. Now the gear wrench is a whole lot thicker. That's the size of about a 50-cent piece, whereas this one's a little bit less thicker than a quarter. Much bigger, much smaller, and thinner. So, gear wrench has got that one. With the gear wrench design, as you can see right here, this is the single pile design, and the actual gear sits in there nice and tight, so it doesn't have that much room to wiggle back and forth inside of the actual housing there. And then the bore holes are drilled through the body, so when you put torque on it, it's not going to actually put pressure on those screw holes, whereas with the Jobsmart, it is completely different. The Jobsmart has all kinds of room in the top and the sides for it to move around. There is a gap there for it to bounce around back and forth. Plus, it's got the two springs inside of it that can come out of line and actually get up there and get hung around where your screw holes are. So if your screws are going through there and then that spring comes up through there, it'd be very easy for those springs to get hung up in it and then cause you all kinds of problems. Plus, those tiny little teeth right there, if you can see that on the actual paws, it would be very easy for those to get tore right off if you put a whole lot of torque on these things. So this particular ratchet is just not a good designed ratchet. It's going to be really weak as opposed to what you would get with the gear wrench. Now in comparison to the tooth count, this one is not a 72 tooth count, but it is a nice, strong, single pile ratchet with all kinds of torque on it, all kinds of leverage when you use it. I ain't got no issues putting a whole lot of power on this one. As opposed to this one, if I was to put a whole lot of different leverage and power on it, put any type of cheater bar on it at all, it would destroy it. So I will not be able to test this out in that manner. Maybe somebody can talk Client Graphics into testing out the actual torque specs of these versus other ratchets of similar build and design. Now right here is what we're going to look at in comparison. You have got the Jobsmart on the left, and this is Pro Value on the right. It does have part numbers die stamped into it. It has the name die stamped into it and the dual strap design, as opposed to this one with only chrome vanadium and the dual strap design. These are both made in Taiwan. They are both made similar. They are the exact same size, and if you put them side by side on the inside, they are relatively the exact same thickness, and they are the same as the 6-point design on the inside of the actual socket. If I wouldn't know any better, I would say that these probably come from the exact same factory. They just got a different name brand, different stamping on them because the way they are made together. The one on the left is a Performance Tool name brand, dual stripes, PT stamped into it, chrome vanadium. It's got the part number on it, size identification. So it does have the dual stripe design. And here's the 21 millimeter. But these two are made a little bit different to each other. Now, if you look at them side by side, the 22 on this one is just a smidgen thicker because it is a bigger size socket, and I don't have that particular socket in the Jobsmart set. But if you look at them on the inside, you can tell that some of these better made sockets do have that little ring on the inside, looks like a washer sitting inside there. And essentially that little washer design that runs around the edge right here is going to be meant to reinforce these 6 points. So whenever you're working on a fastener and you're putting a whole lot of torque on something and it starts putting pressure on the body of this actual socket, it might make its way down, and that's usually where you're going to see the socket split at, when it gets down to the bottom of the base right there. But whenever they put these little parts right here in them, and they help reinforce that 6-point design, it does make the socket itself a little bit stronger. They use this with SK and Snap-on and Proto and a bunch of other name brands out here on the market. It is a really good choice to have that type of design. And this one is Performance Tool, so it's relatively around the exact same price range as what you're going to find with the Jobsmart. It might tell you an indicator of where these tools might or might not be made at, as opposed to where these are made at. This one does not have any. So essentially, if you're going to put a whole lot of torque and pressure on these particular sockets, once it starts splitting and it gets all that pressure on it all the way down to the base, it will probably split down the side easier than what the Performance Tool would. In a nutshell, folks, though, I mean, for the set, paid right at $30 for it for a 31-piece set. I've got less than $1 a piece invested into each one of these sizes right here, into the ratchet, into this little extension bar. Let me put some pictures right here on screen and show you what some of these other name brands are going to cost at these other stores. If you are going to buy sets similar to these, whether it is only standard, only metric, like you can see with Stanley, it's going to cost you more to buy both sets of the Stanley than what you can buy this entire set for right here. Plus you get a ratchet with it and you get bigger sizes with it. If you're going to go buy Pittsburgh Pro from Harbor Freight, look at the prices you're going to be paying for that type of socket set and the pieces you're going to get in it, as opposed to this socket set here from Jobsmart. Look at what you're going to get from Craftsman and a few of these other pictures on screen. You can see the wide variety of prices and the pieces that you're going to get in those particular sets. The problem is we don't have good tool reviews out here that can actually validate the quality of the Jobsmart brand tools, and that's what I'm going to do with this particular set. This is my initial impression, but I am going to take this set of tools right here and I'm going to start doing automotive repairs with it, boat repairs with it. I'm going to take it to the industrial plant that I work at it, and I'm going to use them to work on commercial equipment. And I will let you know how these tools hold up in those types of atmospheres. Are they going to be good for those types of jobs? Good for do-it-yourselfer jobs? Are they equivalent Duralast? Are they the equivalent of Pittsburgh Pro? Are they better, worse, something in between? We just don't know yet, but I'm going to find out, and I will let you know my opinion sometime in the next 3 to 6 months after I have used these things on a good, steady basis. If you are a do-it-yourselfer, you just plan on having a nice little 1/2-inch drive socket set inside your toolbox to have on hand in case you need it, this set might be right up your alley. It might do everything